At the peak of her OCD, she said she washed doorknobs. And by wash, she didn't mean she took a soapy rag to them. She was talking about removing the handles from their door, soaking said handles in a tub of hot water and bleach, and replacing those knobs one by one. On what she called her rough days, she couldn't get her mind past the fact her hands were not disinfected. So what did she do? She worried and wore gloves, because repeating that process she knew would have been totally nuts. Worry. What in the world is worry? Back in my journalism days, I worked for a publisher whose favorite thing to say was, "Don't worry. Worrying never helped anyone do anything." Instead, he would advise, "Take action." Jesus Christ advised us similarly. Look at the birds of the air, that they do not sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they? And who of you, by being worried, can add a single hour to his life or day? Matthew 6:26. But the problem with worry is that for most of us, it is an action now. It acts upon us, especially when we act on it, sending us down a path that's more of a loop. But this loop doesn't just make us dizzy. This loop is more like a wild horse that needs breaking. Once the Mustang gets going, it doesn't know how to stop. Her OCD got so bad, it ultimately turned into depression. Her depression got so bad, it ultimately turned into addictions. And one night after she was caught cheating, she sat in her tub and did what may seem cliche. She slid her left wrist the right way. This propelled her into homelessness, which may sound tragic, but it was mostly choice. It was difficult. Most days she had no clue where her next meal was coming from, and gas for her car, forget about it. But without the trappings of an unhappy home, she became happier. Her mind was no longer locked by dirty doorknobs or blocked by out-of-place trinkets, because she couldn't worry about anything in life other than the absolute necessities of life. Her mind finally allowed her heart to be free. So why do we think worry helps us? Why is it so hard to wrap our heads around the fact we must discern destructive worry from responsible concern? Because there was a time in our history where we worried about the lion around the corner, and we wondered about our food for next year. And those of us who were good at it became the hunters and the gatherers whose DNA flows through us today. In other words, if you go far enough back in time, worry wasn't a bad word. Worry, if fueled by an instinct to survive and a virtue to love and thrive, was the key to our success. So in our mind, of course, it's found recess. But there's no more tigers around the bend, and there's no more doubt about the crops to tend. So we became a species of speculation, worrying over fabrication, unable to piece together in our mind a way to find peace in a daily grind. During the years she was wandering from bed to bed, she realized something she's still wrapping in her head. Without fail, whenever she didn't worry about things, things would turn in her favor. Her needs would get met. And now she's a mother, a full-fledged adult, and on first blush, she shouldn't think that way much. But she doesn't believe she's advocating thoughtlessness or carelessness. Rather, she's hedging her bet on faith. She accepted her human mind is not divine, and the more she lets it interfere, the more she only succumbs to fear. So she took the road she felt she could safely bode, hoping the sins of her past were no worse than mine or yours. She once told me her brain is a tool to get a job done, a hardware computer with a programmed software that can spend a lifetime in default. Constant streams of input traveling synaptic byways, delivering the thoughts and ideas she liked to call alarms. It's the alarms that drove her mad, pinging her brain until she worried herself clinically insane. Never seeing she took the wrong side of the fork in the road between fear and worry and love and faith. I worry less about people's individual alarms these days. I believe most people will ultimately find their way. But I do worry gravely about us collectively. From South Pole to North, the people on this globe have always been polarized, though it seems back in the day we fought about huge things like whether slavery was okay. It pitted people focused on rule of law and economy against people who saw a higher law, a new morality. The debate left many dead, and I'm not going to romanticize it in my head, but that battle couldn't be spinned by a Fox News prejudice or a bias from MSNBC. And it feels like if we had real things to fight about these days, we wouldn't pick our battles so casually or get worked up over a dick tweet from a politician that was never meant for us to see. In recent years, one way she limited the worry in her life was by isolating and rejecting society. She liked to say, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's and render to God the things that are God's. Mark 12:17. I hope she's found a balance now to live not for or against the norms, but rather in her own parallel, to let the revolution happen where she dwells. One of my favorite ways to look at creativity is to see it as troubleshooting, problem solving, riding the wave the way God made for you. It makes me appreciate that creativity lives in far more than just the artists. It makes me see it in the artisan and the craftsman, the carpenter and the draftsman, the surfer and the sociopath too. And I hear wise words from a mentor that at one time resonated so loudly, I still hear the echo today. She said the opposite of creativity is not a lack of creativity. The opposite of creativity is stress. Take action now. Solve your problems by reining your wild horses in. Rest assured. Realize your word confidence is just Latin and it means with trust. Be deliberate in your day's purpose. Focus on the simplicity of sequence rather than the complexities of consequence. Believe your Garden of Eden, that place between instinct and overthink, centers in your heart. And with trust in it, make peace your art. So whether you are homeless in limbo or confined in the misery of someone else's confines, be forgiving of your past somehow. Let go of your future so you can live peacefully in the now. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We are True Story. We hope you enjoyed the evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We love you guys.